The fall semester had just begun at Riverside State University, a cozy, tree-lined campus tucked along the banks of the Potomac in Virginia, where students hurried between classes with coffee cups and backpacks, and the golden leaves danced in the cool September breeze. Inside the historic Jefferson Building home to the English and Literature Department, Professor Adrian Cole was known as one of the most admired lecturers on campus. With his calm voice, sharp intellect, and gentle smile, he drew in students from across departments. But what most people never knew was how lonely he truly was. At 39, after a quiet life built mostly around books, lectures, and research deadlines, he had almost convinced himself that solitude was simply part of his story. Everything changed the morning Emily Hart, the new department clerk, walked into his office holding a stack of enrollment forms. Emily was 28, bright-eyed, warm-hearted, and newly hired after struggling through months of job hunting. She had a soft, thoughtful way of speaking and always tucked a pencil behind her ear, a habit she picked up while helping her mother manage a small bookstore back in Ohio. Coming to Virginia alone had been a leap of faith for her, fueled by the hope of rebuilding her life after a difficult breakup and a period of overwhelming self-doubt. She didn't expect much from the job, just stability, peace, and a chance to breathe. But the moment she stepped inside Professor Cole's office, quiet, full of books, sunlight spilling across his wooden desk, it felt like her world shifted an inch in a direction she couldn't yet understand. "Professor Cole?" she asked softly. He looked up with mild surprise, his glasses slipping slightly down his nose. "Yes. I'm Emily Hart. New clerk for the department," she said with a smile that felt like morning light. Adrian stood up to greet her, and something inside him, perhaps the part he had starved for years, stirred awake. "Welcome. I'm glad you're here. We've been desperately needing someone to bring order to this chaos." She laughed, the sound bright and genuine, and for the first time in a long while, the office felt alive. From that day forward, Emily and Adrian shared the same hallway, exchanging warm greetings each morning. She organized his overflowing files, arranged his student schedules, managed his emails, and sometimes teased him gently about the clutter on his desk. She brought in homemade blueberry muffins for the department and always saved one for him. And in return, Adrian found himself planning excuses to stop by her small desk near the front office, bringing her extra notes, asking about upcoming department meetings, even though he knew the answers. He couldn't explain it, not even to himself, but every time he talked to her, life felt a little less predictable and a little more beautiful. As weeks turned into months, the air between them warmed with an unspoken connection. They bonded over literature. Emily loved poetry, especially the kind that felt like quiet confessions. Adrian recommended books to her. She wrote short reflections on them and left the papers on his desk with neat little notes. It became their secret ritual. One rainy afternoon after class, she found him staring out the window of his office while soft jazz played from his old speakers. "You look like a man thinking about something big," she teased. He turned with a faint smile. "Just thinking, how life surprises us. How people surprise us." She tilted her head. "Anyone in particular?" He hesitated for a moment. "Yes." Emily's pulse skipped, though she stayed composed. She had grown to admire him deeply, not just the professor in him, but the man behind the careful words. But she never allowed herself to believe he could feel something too. After all, he was older, respected, brilliant, and lived in a world different from hers. She was just a clerk, trying to rebuild her confidence. Still, the way he looked at her sometimes, it made her wonder. Late October brought along the Fall Faculty Gala, an annual event held at the university's Grand Hall. Adrian almost never attended. But this year, he found himself saying yes mostly because Emily cheerfully insisted all staff should come. "What if I get bored?" he joked. "Then I'll come rescue you," she replied, not realizing how deeply the words struck his heart. The night of the gala, Emily entered the hall in a soft navy blue dress that floated with her every step. Her hair was loose, glossed by warm lights, and she looked breathtaking in a way Adrian had never seen her before. He froze for a second when he saw her. She noticed and flushed. "You clean up pretty well yourself, Professor Cole." "Adrian," he corrected quietly. "Just Adrian, tonight." Her smile widened, and something inside him softened. They spent the evening talking more freely than ever before about childhood memories, dreams they never told anyone, regrets they carried with quiet acceptance. Emily confessed how she still feared failing, despite her talents. Adrian admitted how lonely his life had been, how much time he'd wasted convincing himself he didn't need anything more. At one point, as soft music floated through the hall, Adrian asked, "Would you like to dance?" She hesitated, not because she didn't want to, but because of the swirl of emotions suddenly rising inside her. But she nodded, and he took her hand gently. They danced slowly under the warm lights, the world shrinking down to just them. For the first time, Adrian felt her heartbeat close to his. Emily felt his breath near her hair. It was innocent, tender, but filled with something too deep to ignore. After the gala, they walked outside into the quiet campus night. The autumn breeze rustled through the trees, and the sky glowed with faint stars. "I had a wonderful time," Emily whispered. "So did I," Adrian replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "More than you know." They stood there for a moment, the silence warm, the distance between them thin as paper. But then Emily stepped back, suddenly aware of the complex reality. She was his department clerk. He was a professor. Even if there was no violation of rules, she feared becoming a rumor, a headline, a problem. "We should go," she said gently. He nodded, though disappointment flickered in his eyes. "Yes." "Good night, Emily." "Good night, Adrian." For the next few days, something changed, not distance, but tension, like unsent letters sitting between them. They worked together as usual, but their smiles were softer, their conversations quieter. They both felt the weight of what they were trying to hide. Everything came to a breaking point a week later when Emily fell ill during a heavy storm. She tried coming to work, but by noon she grew dizzy and fainted in the hallway. Adrian rushed to her and caught her before she hit the floor, his heart pounding with fear. He drove her to the campus clinic, stayed with her, brought her soup, and made sure she rested properly. She woke up in a warm room, seeing him sitting beside her, worry etched across his face. "You scared me," he said softly. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't want to miss work." "You are not just work to me," he blurted before he could stop himself. Emily swallowed hard. "Adrian." "I know," he said gently. "I know the complications, the boundaries, the worries. But I also know what I feel. And I don't want to lie to myself anymore." She felt tears sting her eyes. For months she had suppressed her own feelings, convinced they were one-sided and foolish. "I care about you too," she admitted in a trembling voice. "But I didn't want to make things harder for you." He leaned closer, his voice tender. "You make everything better, Emily. You bring life where I didn't even realize it was missing." She breathed shakily, her heart bursting with a mix of relief and fear. "What do we do now?" "We take it slow," he said softly. "We talk to the department head. We make sure everything is professional and transparent. And, we see where this goes. Together." For the first time, Emily let herself believe in the possibility of something beautiful. Over the following week, Adrian spoke to the department chair, clarifying that their connection was personal, not based on hierarchy or influence. Since Emily wasn't a student and he had no authority over her job, the department only required documentation, not disapproval. With everything formal and transparent, the weight on their shoulders lifted. Their relationship grew naturally after that: coffee dates after work, long conversations in quiet corners of the campus gardens, shared laughter during late-night book discussions. Adrian discovered the simple joy of having someone to talk to at the end of the day. Emily rediscovered confidence, feeling valued not just for her work but for who she was. The campus soon became a backdrop to their quiet romance. Students occasionally saw them walking together but paid little attention. After all, university life was full of unexpected friendships and connections. One snowy December evening, after weeks of gentle, growing affection, Adrian invited Emily to the university library's rooftop, a secret spot he went to when he needed to think. The city lights shimmered below, and snowflakes drifted softly around them. Emily wrapped her coat tighter, cheeks flushed from the cold. "You brought me here to freeze," she joked. Adrian smiled and shook his head. "I brought you here because this place means something to me. And so do you." Emily's heart thudded in her chest. He took a small step closer. "You've changed my life, Emily. I didn't know how lonely I was until you walked into that office. You filled a space I never admitted was empty." Her eyes softened. "You changed my life too." Adrian reached into his coat and pulled out a book, an old poetry collection she had once borrowed from him. Inside was a small note in his handwriting: "Some stories aren't written in books, they're lived, day by day, with the person who brings light into the quiet corners of your life." Emily looked up, tears filling her eyes. "Adrian, this is beautiful." He gently brushed a snowflake from her hair. "I don't want to rush anything. I don't want to overwhelm you. I just want you to know that I'm here. And I'm committed to us." She stepped closer, her hand finding his. "I'm committed to us too." The snow continued to fall quietly as they shared their first gentle, meaningful kiss, soft, warm, a promise of everything waiting ahead. Their love didn't need dramatic confessions or grand gestures. It grew in the quiet moments over shared lunches, early morning greetings, support during stressful days, and laughter echoing through office walls. By spring, the campus was alive again, and so was their relationship: steady, mature, heartfelt. Students adored Emily's kindness and admired Adrian's newfound lightness. The English department had never felt warmer. And as cherry blossoms bloomed across the Riverside campus, Emily and Adrian walked hand in hand down the tree-lined path, knowing their story written between papers, poems, heartbeats, and stolen smiles had only just begun.